Bodies Podcast, WATP.
This is a show all about Neil Gaiman, who is a fantasy author. He's one of the most famous currently working and probably of all time, prolific in what he's written and developed for not just books and comic books, but movies and TV series, and active with multiple series, although some of those have been dropped.
Yeah, well,
some of the series have concluded because of these allegations and things that are happening. And this podcast is what's making it all happen. Andy.
Seemingly ineffectual podcast. This all came out in July and August of 2024 to virtually no awareness of anybody.
It's pretty dry.
And
The show is pretty dry.
well, right. That's the crazy thing. The show is so boring that the accusations leveled at Neil Gaiman just get ignored because the people that produced it are awful. In clip 1, you're going to get a good idea of how boring this show actually is.
And these are real journalists.
They're reporters. They're not entertainers.
Right.
And it's going to be perfectly clear.
And ended up going there that weekend, and she said, "Can you just work for me full time?"
The role being offered to Scarlet is more like that of an au pair than a formal nanny. Scarlet will live with the family and help both parents with childcare, and as it turns out, cooking and cleaning too.
We've got the WhatsApp exchanges from that afternoon of 4th February. From them, we can work out that the first time Scarlet meets Neil Gaiman is just before 2 p.m. at the ferry terminal. Neil Gaiman and the child go on ahead to Waiheke. Scarlet grabs an overnight bag and follows them on a later ferry. From the WhatsApps, we can see Neil Gaiman then arrange to meet Scarlet at his house. At 5 minutes past 2, he writes, "It's a 12-minute bus ride and a 5-minute walk over a secret wetland path." So we know that Scarlet arrives at the house at around 4:30 p.m.
Oh, phew.
Oh my God. Please tell me we're not going to continue on with this bore fest. What are these details?
I know. I
Who gives a shit?
I had to play that one so to illustrate just how the lack of entertainment that they're putting into the narrative of this, because the details of these allegations from these women are insane and crazy,
titillating,
and salacious,
yes,
and titillating,
right?
And these people
this should
not be
so easy to turn into an amazing podcast,
right? And they could not make it less interesting, especially Paul. He is the opposite of a hype man. Whatever.
He's a nap man.
Yeah. He's a kindergarten teacher flipping the lights on and off, just telling everybody to settle the fuck down. He's so fucking boring every time he comes on. So I tried to minimize that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That reminds me so much of all of the true crime books that only come in soft cover. So like when you can't get a true crime book in a hardcover, all of them are like, it was a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. It was a little bit rainy. The rain came up onto the porch, and I'm like, you don't fucking know. You weren't goddamn there. Nobody cares about any of that. Nobody cares.
I love it when she gets mad. This reminded me of the first podcast I ever heard, which was called Serial, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. Sure. And it was a lot more compelling back then.
Yeah, you can't get away with this anymore. And they fully did the Serial thing now. Well, I'll save that for later. But they're just like, now we're going to show you how the sausage is made. No, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to know more about Paul and Rachel in any way.
Oh, they don't talk about sausage?
They talk about Neil's sausage.
I was going to say somebody's sausage.
Yeah. So that nanny au pair that they're describing there is Scarlet. She is the first person that brought this allegations to the table. She started reaching out to reporters and media and the police. And the only reason we found this in 2025 is because she just keeps filing lawsuits against Neil. So it keeps showing up in the news feed. And that's how Joe Sixpack and I were just like, well, what's this all about? Oh, it all goes back to July of 2024.
And the lawsuits also include Amanda Palmer, which is Neil's ex-wife. They're currently going through a divorce.
I feel like they're always just kind of separated. They don't, but I was explaining to Carl, it's kind
Well, they have a kid together. I mean, they're always separated.
They don't-
It's a way to be.
Weren't married.
they're not together.
No, I know. They're divorced.
I mean, it's like 5 years in the making.
No, it was filed. Yeah, it was filed a few years ago.
And he's like, that's just marriage.
Yeah, right.
What's confusing about this? I'm sorry. What am I missing?
Nobody's signing the papers, Carl, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But Paul and Rachel are trying to set this up as a Ghislaine Epstein kind of duo.
Right.
And that'll be made a little more clear later. But let's get to the sexy stuff, Chris.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
finally.
So
I don't get my zipper down over here for nothing.
Right. Sex. Go.
Scarlet apparently doesn't know anything about anything. And this part of episode 1, Neil has an outdoor bathtub where he's going to say,
Normal.
hey, yeah, it's, this is what we do. If you feel like taking a bath outside, go ahead and strip down and jump in. And things are going to take a turn for, I don't know, the better,
He
the
still
worse.
had time to kill, apparently. So he said, do you want to have a bath? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. He said, okay, cool, I'll bring you a bath. And I thought nothing on Rachel. I know it sounds crazy, but I truly thought nothing of it. So he runs me a bath. The bath is outside, down at the bottom of the garden, under this what we call a pahushakawa tree, which is a big tree with red flowers. And he gives me a towel and says, just, feel free, come out, when you're ready. So I got in and I, was just sort of on my phone.
So, Scarlet says Neil Gaiman leaves her to get into the bath alone and tells her to get out whenever she's done. She says he then goes into the house, and when he comes out again, she says, he's naked.
Well, yeah.
And then I hear, maybe 5 minutes later, clunk, clunk, clunk down to the bath, the stones. And I was like, what the fuck? But also was like, maybe thinking it was normal.
All right, I'm not here to victim blame. This isn't the creep off. But if you have an outdoor tub and you're like, hey, why don't the first time you're meeting a guy to be his nanny, you come over and he's like, hey, why don't you take your clothes off and get in the outdoor tub? She's like, okay.
Yeah. You really stink.
First things first, wash that stink up.
Yeah.
Show of hands, has any man ever offered to run you a bath? She's like, oh, I thought it was normal. This is just what they do in New Zealand. Lucy, men running baths for you?
Yeah, it's very romantic. Not in an outdoor
Also,
bathtub,
chew
but
this
I would
gum
do
while
it.
you're at it. Your armpits
Also,
in your mouth
Andy,
stink.
I thought that we were going to be getting to the sexy stuff, not to descriptions of trees.
We got to set the table.
Yeah.
Neil, a 60-year-old man is showing up naked. You're not turned on yet?
Constantly. Come
Okay.
on.
Well, if that one didn't do it for you, maybe this clip 3 will.
All right.
He ended up sort of asking me to put my legs down, and I ignored him. And then he said, come on, get comfortable. And, I was like, I'm good. I'm a bit shy. And then he asked me again and sort of, gestured. And so I put them down, and he started sort of caressing my legs. I don't know, it's sort of hard to talk about on Zoom. So next thing I knew, his fingers were in my ass, and
Okay.
and
It's
I
interesting
wasn't
move.
Nice.
really sure what was happening, and
You were getting your butt fingers.
Yeah, it sounds like you do.
and then he made me give him a hand job, and I said no at first because I'm not interested.
I'm more interested in
that
blowjobs.
anatomy. And then he said, you don't know what you're missing out on, come over here. And then kept pushing it to the point where I was just like, fine. And then he
What's her
just
number?
jerked off over me.
Oh.
All right. Well, now you're really going to need a bath.
Yeah, right.
You're in the right place for this.
Yeah.
Worked out well.
Problem solves itself.
Now, again, I'm not trying to victim blame here. This all sounds very horrific.
You don't need to try.
All right. The idea, how is he supposed to act? You're both naked in a bathtub in this romantic setting in New Zealand. Should we start reading books silently to ourselves?
She was asking for it.
All right.
Right. And this is just this is like the job interview, basically.
Yeah.
She keeps saying, you can hear her being giggly about it too. Yeah. She has this nervous energy. She has like a nervous laughter.
You would too if you had fingers in your asshole when you met your boss for the first time.
Okay, so now he has established their relationship, and this is just going to be part of the job, basically. So now from there, this is where things get to the master, the dom. She's the sub, and this is going to be Neil is going to get creative with it.
Okay.
In clip 4,
it was so confusing because I feel like at the end of it, he made me feel like it was consensual, but it wasn't consensual.
Remember back when you were saying yes to this?
The anal was basically the last thing on the fucking planet, I think, is like I want to do.
That same Saturday evening, after she's put the child to bed, Neil Gaiman anally penetrates her, she says, without asking and without using a condom.
Surprise!
And she says that he uses butter as a lubricant.
That's delicious.
You guys know I love butter.
Look, if you're going to do ATM, that's one of the better options out there.
Yeah, right.
Delicious.
You got to season up that ass.
I will say this. All right, I'm going to take her side. I'm going to take the nanny side right now.
Sure.
Anal, you should always ask. There should be some conversation that goes on.
Yeah.
Some type of acknowledgement. Maybe it doesn't have to be words per se.
Yeah.
You just hit tap.
Yeah,
Would you like it here or?
Let's have a plan.
Yes.
So I'm gonna take the counterpoint here, Carl.
Yes, please.
I'm gonna take his side. Okay, so she is describing this not necessarily as an essay at this point, just something that she doesn't want to do, which is a form of essay, but
Sure.
Let's just separate those two things. It would be challenging to just stick it up a butt, even if you have a big chunk of butter in there, without some sort of conversation, some sort of we're moving around to this position.
She would need to loosen up a little bit, right?
Participating to some extent,
I see.
right?
I mean, it's the last thing she wanted, according to her.
But she did it.
Is it? According to clip 5, we might find out otherwise.
Oh,
Oh,
so
no.
it's already contradicted?
Hello, darling. I've had a crazy weekend. To getting bitten by a spider, to ridiculously crazy and rough and kind of amazing sex.
Oh.
Misma remembers receiving this text.
She framed it as both like a positive and a negative thing in the same sentence, like that she just had like good but quite rough, or good but like violent or something sex with a man, and like not to tell anyone.
So Scarlett's texting a friend of hers, con, I saw a spider. Pro, I got butt fucked by Neil Gaiman.
Sharing the lead.
Yeah.
Bad things and good things happen. Now, what's the age difference here? Isn't Neil Gaiman like 60 at this time? And she's 22 or 23?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
There's hope for us all.
Almost all of the women in this story are in their 20s, with one exception that we'll get to. But
30s, I hope?
at any rate, Neil's going to establish dominance in clip 6.
She's dependent on him for bed, board and income, and in return, he uses her as, in her words, his fuck pig, and makes her call him master.
Not slam piece? I prefer slam piece to fuck pig, but both get the job done.
Yeah, slam piece is a term of endearment. Fuck pig is
A job.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go see Fuck Pig's tour, the Eras tour, Trisha Paytas.
Yeah. Fuck pig is opening for Trisha Paytas at the Budokan. I mean, Trisha Paytas kind of looks like the fuck pig.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah. So that is, I mean, a lot of people are into BDSM, and
Yeah,
sure.
to try and minimize, that's what this podcast is doing. It's kind of stealing the agency of people that are into it away from them retroactively 20 years later, saying, this is my biggest problem with this show, is that they're trying to say that you can repeal consent 20 years later, after you realize that you didn't end up being Neil Gaiman's girlfriend and you didn't get enough out of that relationship, now I would like more out of that relationship in a sum of money, is really what all of these narratives are right now.
And the problem is it's working.
That's precedent.
Right.
Yeah, Neil,
Yeah.
you're fucking
Yes.
this up
Yeah,
for everyone.
Neil, he's got to stop giving $60,000 out at a time to these women.
Right.
I feel stupid. Pay me.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I made a bad decision. Give me money.
And I said this Scarlet woman just keeps bringing these lawsuits to the table months and months later, weeks later, but it's never going to go anywhere because of clip 7.
Hi Neil, how are you? I miss you so much, as I said in my text. I hope that you're doing all right. Let me know, I worry. I am doing better today. I've been terrible.
There are files of photos and videos
Hopefully one day soon.
and pages of messages.
And I'm
Jesus,
sending
Paul, slow down.
all my love.
So how did they get that voicemail? That sounds like it was on Neil's phone.
I think it's all Scarlet. She's like, oh,
She's recording these things and keeping them? That's dumb.
Here's every WhatsApp I ever sent her, Neil. Here's every voicemail I ever sent Neil.
Oh, wow.
And it's all saying, hey, I love you, Neil. I was totally into it. Let's keep this going.
Right.
And now she's just like, oh, well, I didn't mean any of that. Well, the cops are going to disagree.
Yeah.
We're going to find out.
Okay.
So will Neil.
But in clip 8, this is just some more crazy details that I had to include.
Clean him up. That became a big thing. So he made me vomit multiple times, and then I would get punished and have to clean him up. Or if the anal sex was too painful and I was basically screaming, he would get really, really angry, and I would get punished and have to clean him up, which would often mean performing, oral sex on him after
Anal sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understood that when he got the butter out. I was like, yeah, I get this. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, clean it up.
I just wish one woman would be like, yeah, it was so painful having sex with Carl. I was screaming. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say what I'm learning from this is Neil Gaiman's dick is huge.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. Is he the one behind all of this? Is he the one putting this out there?
Yeah.
Trying to get all
That
new
would
fans
be
lined
funny.
up.
I need people to know about this.
Yeah.
One of the other ones, I can't believe I forgot to include this one. One of his other favorite punishments was pissing on his hand and then slapping her in the face with it.
That's
a
funny.
punishment or-
Skip a step.
Yeah, why get your hands wet?
Yeah, Joe Sixpack likes to call that the Infinity Gauntlet. But all right, we got a lot of clips here.
Too many.
I think I'm going. Yeah. So I think I'm going to skip ahead to clip 13, Carl.
Yes.
I mentioned that these WhatsApps are kind of a deal breaker for Scarlet, and the cops are going to tell her as much.
It's about our role in protecting the victims from putting them through another trauma in court, where the question marks that I've got only get bigger in court. When a defence lawyer comes on to where I'm at now, a defence lawyer will make you look like you asked for it and everything else. And the reasons why is because there's a question mark. There will be a question mark over what you felt was consent at the time. What I'm saying to you is, in your case with the Gaiman matter, it wouldn't stand up in court, and you would probably come off for the worse if we took this to court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's going to be the theme of this entire podcast. But they're going to insist that they're going to have a big reveal.
Okay.
Almost every episode is just like, well, you're not going to believe what the person that came forward next said. And you're like, oh, well, maybe we're going to find out that Neil Gaiman is a monster. No, we're going to find out that there's even more fucking gold diggers coming out of the woodwork. Clip 15.
After weeks of speaking to people in the world of comics, I get a message from someone else who worked in the industry. I had contacted this person asking about sexual misconduct, but without mentioning Neil Gaiman. We agree to speak, and when we do, this person tells me, when I read your message, I thought, if this guy is working on a story about Neil Gaiman, then he's hit the jackpot.
now who he's referring to here is a fan of Neil Gaiman. She goes by Kay in this, and she keeps coming to his events. He posts speaking, reading engagements where he meets the fans and
does a lot of book signings and things.
Correct.
Fans line up for it.
She goes to 2 or 3, and they get to know each other. And Neil Gaiman's only crime is that he's trying to get laid in clip 17.
The age of consent in Florida is 18, so they're legal. The question, so casually posed to these 2 young friends, do they want to go to bed with a married man in his 40s they've only met a couple of times together?
Yes.
Well, this is how he sold it.
Oh, you guys said it was my birthday. This would be a great birthday present. You guys both came to bed with me. No thanks. And he said okay and went back to his room, and we kind of never talked about it. We were just kind of like, that was weird.
So he asked them if they wanted to have sex and accepted their refusal.
Yeah. Okay.
Horrible.
What a monster.
I don't like the birthday thing though. That's corny.
Well, no, they were out to eat, and the girls were just like, "Oh, it's Neil's birthday. Can you have a free dessert?" Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm on a diet, but
brownie sundae.
Yeah.
What were we gonna say, Lucy?
I'll just have a stick of butter. I would, if I was 18 years old and Neil Gaiman was like, hey, you want to go bang? I would be like, fuck yeah. Like, absolutely I would have.
Okay, what if you
That's
were your
stupid.
age right now and Neil Gaiman said that?
Probably.
All right, there you go.
I don't think
I don't know
it
why you had
sounds
to
like
qualify as 18 first.
it sounds like he wouldn't be interested me at my age.
That could be
Interested in
true.
me.
Yeah, that could
Yeah.
be true. Although now he probably
I
wants to clean up
missed
his
the mark.
image.
Well,
It's true.
What Lucy's saying is Neil's normal interaction with his fan base.
Yeah.
Paul and Rachel have found the 5 people that are trying to say that they weren't okay with it. Out of everybody that he's ever fucked, they found the 5 people that have a problem with it in 2025.
And I mentioned that Amanda Palmer, the wife, and Andy immediately jumped down my throat. But they were married, but it was an open relationship. So the entire time he was married, they're both fucking anyone they wanted to. Amanda, by the way, is a musician.
Oh, God, she's the worst.
The Dresden Dolls.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. Not my thing.
If you want to know more about that, please go find my Neil Gaiman master episode. It heavily features how terrible Amanda Palmer is. She's the fucking worst.
She's got 20,000 Patreon followers.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling because she is the most pretentious asshole I've ever listened to. But in clip 19, Kay is going to these Comic-Con, Hall H, these engagements. They want access to Neil. This is very transactional. They want to have backstage passes, and Neil wants a fucking blowjob, and that's. They are
great.
saying I'm cool.
The story as old as time.
Yeah.
The email says, if I just happened to fly to the UK, just very casually on a whim, you would tell me what hotel lobby to hang out in, right? My neglected loins are looking at cheap flight options even as I type this. When we asked Kay about this email, she provided us with the full thread. It shows that Kay's email was in response to one Neil Gaiman sent her, one that started their email exchange and contained only a photo of the actor David Tennant in costume for a Good Omens production.
That was kind of funny. She wanted to meet David Tennant, so Neil's like, "Oh yeah, he's at this hotel. It's in this room," and she shows up and it's Neil's room.
The baller move right there.
And it's my birthday.
Oh, you just missed him. Damn it. and it's my birthday.
Yeah. Can I run you a bath? So now she is under the impression that she's Neil Gaiman's girlfriend. They're traveling here. Like, he takes her on a trip. The whole time she's like, "Oh, I'm on my period. Oh, I have a UTI. Oh, my eye's infected. I don't want to fuck you, Neil." So Neil's
shoot
like,
on your back.
Yeah.
Your eye's infected.
So in clip 22, Neil's finally is like, "Well, if we're not going to fuck, I'm out of here." And he gets on a plane. She buys a $500 plane ticket and runs onto the plane and is begging him to not break up with it. This is really sad.
To talk him out of it, bought a $500 ticket on his flight, got onto the plane, got onto the plane, like kneeled in the seat in front of him and was like, please don't do this. Please don't break up with me. And he was not having it. He was like, somebody get her off the plane. Get her off the plane.
Yeah, you
like,
don't put out.
They dragged me off the plane. I'm sobbing. It ended up refunding my ticket, I think, more out of just like, please God, get this crying girl out of our face. And then I had to drive home to my dad's house, blind in one eye, because I didn't know what to do. And that was the end.
Did anyone care if she was refunded or not? Gives a shit.
She did.
Got my $500 back. Cool.
Yeah.
The trees had
boyfriend
beautiful
broke up.
pink flowers.
Yeah. My boyfriend broke up with me and I'm out $500.
Yeah.
Does that sound like the actions of a woman that
Definitely
was
a victim.
not into it?
Definitely a SA victim that we're hearing right there as she's pleading for him not to break up with her.
Well, not just an SA victim, but a crazy SA victim who's totally, totally in love. Like, that's insane. That's insane. Those are the actions of a crazy person.
Or a woman. You could just said woman.
A woman. A woman.
Okay, so that's the story of Kay. Also, seemingly into it. Seemingly wanted full access to a Neil Gaiman lifestyle. But this next woman is Caroline. She is Neil's housekeeper for his property, because Neil's pimping all over the world. I don't know if you know this. The first Scarlet was in New Zealand. Kay, I think, was in Florida. Now Neil bought a house in Woodstock, New York, not too far from here. And when Neil is pitching projects in England or LA, who's going to watch his property in Woodstock?
Me.
You wish. You don't give good enough head.
Turns out it's Caroline, mother of 3.
Producer Chris shows up with butter. He's like, I'm ready for the job. I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah. Dress for the job you want. So Caroline is a hippie. She's married at the time, and she is into ceramics. She makes pots, and she doesn't want a real job. So she's just managing Neil's property, living in his house while he's not there. The best part of the job, apparently, is when Neil's not there. But let's meet Caroline in clip 23.
So, Caroline, with it, I know this is going to feel like a lot, but could we start from the beginning? Caroline Warner is now 63 years old. We speak over Zoom. Her story falls in the middle of Kay's and Scarlet's.
So we're basically living there 2014. We lived in that little place next to theirs.
Caroline is a ceramicist. Her husband, a builder and musician.
So she's 53 at the time. She's
right,
the nanny of this place.
Yeah.
So he wants nothing to do with this broad.
And they keep saying,
there's still hope for me.
Gonna take a lot of butter.
They keep trying to be like, oh, this woman is a mother of 3 that has responsibility. Her kids have got to be like 19, 22, and 28.
Right. Yeah, they're grown up.
Yeah, but they're trying to make it seem like she's in this position that she has no agency over.
Okay.
But in clip 26, so eventually she's bitching about doing anything other than making a fucking lopsided ashtray. Like, Neil's like, can you go pick my mom up from the airport? Can you take my kids to preschool? And she's like, oh my God, what the fucking asks? And finally, her husband leaves her. So now she is kind of like, well, if it wasn't for Neil, I'd have no place to stay because I'm going through this messy divorce. And it becomes transactional. But this is a deal that she has put herself into. And in clip 26, she almost feels like she's Neil's girlfriend at this point.
And then the sauna was when it started. I remember him kissing me at the sauna that first time. And I don't know, putting his hands on me, putting my hand on him. I mean, this is what's embarrassing. I did think maybe he liked me.
Nah.
But then she realizes that wasn't what was going on, because he told her.
And I said, what would Amanda say about this? And he said, about what? And I said, about this romance. That's what's embarrassing. And he said, Caroline, there is no romance.
So pathetic. But you fuck all your fans, all but one. That's so sad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lucy.
But they've had some kind of arrangement. She's hanging around because I think Neil has promised her this house that she's living in that's like an in-law or something that's on the it's not the house proper, but she has the studio space and this place to live. And this is where Neil fucks up because at heart, he's a nice guy. Like when he's not slapping you with a piss hand and
yeah, you're a real Neil Gaiman apologist.
I'm Team Neil all day. I'm fucking telling you right now.
Sweetheart of a guy.
I've already listened to the whole thing, so take it from me.
Okay.
But where he's fucking up, he's too nice. He's like, oh well, I'm sorry that you're in this position, so I'm gonna fucking pay you out an insane amount of money in clip 8 or 28.
$300K is what I came up with. $150 for real estate issues and $150 for the sexual trade issue. Something that I'm trying to come to terms with. Therapy alone is costing a fortune.
Caroline, with money lent by a friend, entered a residential therapy center. She was prescribed antidepressants and remains on them. In the end, Neil Gaiman settles with Caroline for $275,000 and an NDA later that month.
He is not a good negotiator.
No.
She started at 300 and he got it to 275.
I know.
Those numbers are so made up. I need 120 for you not having sex with me. Okay, let's make that 110. What else you got?
Right. I don't think those blowjobs were worth as much as you think they are. How about a house and what 230,000? It's insane what he gave this woman.
I'm so in.
I know this is all just positive things that are happening. You're fucking Neil Gaiman. You're getting a big payout. You're on podcasts.
Yeah, he has a giant hog.
Yep.
I get infamy. I get money. This sounds wonderful.
Promote once over with Kaylee while you're on the show.
Exactly.
Oh, it was so awful. He took me in the butt. By the way, I just did a review of Joker 2. You got to check it out.
All right, so that's Caroline. Now we're going to move on to Claire, who is the most insufferable person in this series. This is a 6-episode series. The one about Claire just it makes me so angry. So let's meet Claire in clip 30.
Your letter. If I'd known that I took up that headspace for you, I would have. I don't know. I definitely would have been reaching out a long time ago. I've never thought of you with anything other than fondness and a little awkwardness and, definitely feeling like I got the wrong end of the stick. But I thought you were terrific, and I was heartbroken seeing that I was giving you nightmares, so I'm really sorry.
Okay, so she is obviously recording conversations with Neil, Kate Meany style.
Yep.
And what we're going to find out is that Paul and Rachel she's come to them. They're trying to get this gotcha moment on Neil. And you can hear the regret that he did not know that she had these feelings about her interaction with him for years.
Right.
He was just like, oh, we had a good time, didn't we? Well, not now that I know that there's money to be made.
You think
according to Paul
that's what's going on?
Yeah, Paul and Rachel are like, hey, Claire, Caroline got $230K in a house. What did you get? Oh, let's find out. Let's start recording Neil without his knowledge. I don't know if he knows or not, but in 31, this is what she's angling for. Apparently, if you get attacked by a dog as a child, 20 years later, you can go to the owner of that dog and say, hey, I have emotional problems because of that incident. You owe me $19,000 every 6 months for the next 4 years.
I've been having nightmares about not getting rich.
So what I would propose is that I will give you $15,000 a year for 4 years, which is the top level of a tax-free gift. So I can gift you $15,000 each year, and you do not have to pay any tax or anything on that. That is just a gift. And then I'm going to make a hefty donation.
I'd be like, why don't you give me $100,000? I'll pay the taxes on it.
Yeah. That's what she says. Oh, okay. She's like, I'd rather have the lump sum because I'm a fucking idiot.
That place is a rape crisis center.
Yeah. So Neil, she's like, you know how much therapy costs these days? He's like, all right, well, let me help you pay the bills. I got fucking money. And the really annoying thing here is, like we talked about with Amanda Palmer being a groomer. She facilitated these two meetings. Somehow Claire met Amanda Palmer. Amanda's like, go up to Neil and stick your tongue in his ear, or like say that you have a message from me, and whisper it to him and kiss him on the ear, and he'll be embarrassed, and you guys will have a meet cute, essentially.
Okay.
Clip 32.
And I told him that I had a message for him from Amanda. Then I asked him to stand up. And I still don't know where I got the courage to do that because I was so terrified. But he stood up and I gave him a big hug. And as I was pulling away, he kissed me on the cheek.
Claire says she never nibbled his earlobe as Amanda Palmer suggested she should, because she felt it would be too forward and in any case isn't into ears. We've reached out to Amanda Palmer, as we have multiple times before, but received no comment yet. But we have discovered that she and Neil Gaiman, though separated, are still married.
So I guess at the time of this record, that's why I slapped that down. But.
Yeah, I mean they're going through the divorce. I don't know what the deal is, but last month, Amanda Palmer was sued for alleged human trafficking, conspiracy to commit human trafficking, and negligence, which was filed as a multi-state filing due to the difficulty of determining her actual current state of residency. No one knows where she is. She's just hiding from everyone.
So much for my cliffhanger to get people to come listen to my show.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
It's fine. But that's one of the craziest things. Right when episode 6 was running out, like I said, this came out in July and August, and we had covered everything up to episode 6, and we were about to do it, and I was kind of like, this has been so crazy and fun. I wish that it wouldn't end. And I went to go see what episode 6 was about. The day that I went to look, episode 7 came out 6 months later. So there is even more to uncover, but it sounds like what you're talking about is the bulk of that. Scarlet is still filing lawsuits. They're implicating Amanda Palmer, and they're going to bring all these WhatsApps where everybody was just like, let's keep fucking in the butt, Neil. Okay, let's take it to court.
Well, you asked me to do some research on Amanda Palmer, so that's not completely my fault.
No, it's not.
I just wanted to say, I wanted to have a part in this. But I just wanted to say that at first, when these allegations started coming out, Amanda was accusing everyone who was saying shit on social media to be bots. She was dismissing this and like, oh, it's another bot that's talking crazy shit or whatever. And then she got real quiet.
Yeah.
And wasn't saying anything. She put out a Patreon post and no one can really decipher what it is. She has links to songs and all these like photos and images and trying to figure out like, what does that mean? And people are trying to discover it. But she finally put out her official statement on her Instagram. And so on her Instagram, it says, I thank you all deeply for continuing to respect my recent request for privacy as I navigate this extremely difficult moment. I must protect my young child who is right to privacy and his right to privacy. With this as my priority, I will not respond to the specific allegations being made against me, except to say that I deny the allegations and will respond in due course. But this is the crazy part right here. She writes, my heart goes out to all survivors.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the part right there. I'm like, whoa, so there are victims of this. Why would you write to all the survivors?
Yeah, she's probably trying to throw Neil under the bus.
It seems like it. That's what it seems like to me. Like she doesn't want any piece of this, but she also just like, yeah, but go ahead and sue him.
Yeah, especially when we listen to. Go ahead, Lucy.
Is their divorce finalized at this point?
No.
Okay, so that's exactly why she's saying that. She wants that to go in their divorce case.
She also wants custody, I believe, of Ash, their son. So she's looking to get custody of the son. And so, yeah, it's all very complicated.
Yeah,
as far as her angle on this, because she's not really talking.
And we already heard her involvement with this Claire person's introduction to Neil. If it wasn't for Amanda maybe none of this would have happened. But it is Claire's fault when you're texting with Neil that you can't sleep, and he's like, hey, I'm going to call you, and we're going to have phone sex, and you don't decline. Clip 36.
And he talked about how he would flip me around and fuck me from behind.
Seems like that.
And through all of that, I did not say a word, and it felt deeply, deeply weird.
Still, the next day, Claire told him in an email, last night was absolutely wonderful and completely unprecedented. Haven't ever gotten off with someone on the phone before.
And I'd planned on going to one of his tour stops in Nashville a couple days later.
All right.
And she said, well, but then I changed my mind and I wasn't going to go to Nashville. Cut to clip 37. Guess who's in Nashville?
And he told me there was no pressure and I was under no obligation to do anything. But when we got to Nashville, the second we were alone, he started making out with me.
Yeah.
And he groped my butt and I moved his hands and I tried to keep my lower body away from his lower body. So in Nashville,
while still making out,
it was for the ocean at the end of the lane. He was doing readings, and there was a performer in the beginning to open, like an opening act. And so he asked me to come backstage while he was getting ready for the opening act.
And you said no.
And that was when I went backstage.
Okay. I mean, everything she's describing here is what is known as the dance.
Yeah.
This is what it's like, oh, I'm not coming to Nashville. And then you show up in Nashville. It's like, oh, I don't want you touching my butt. You're like, okay, want to come backstage? Yeah, but
right.
We all see what's happening here.
Yeah. In the next clip, we don't have to play this one, but there's other groupie starfuckers backstage. And she's like, Neil's kind of creepy, right? Right, everybody? If I give you jazz hands, just know that I'm uncomfortable. And Neil's like, hey, come sit on my lap. And she's like, I sat on his lap and he had a heart on. So I started doing jazz hands and everybody ignored it.
Everyone started singing jazz.
Everybody's doing jazz hands.
Putting on the Ritz. But in clip 39, she is going to text her boyfriend, who probably was like, please don't go fuck Neil Gaiman. What are you doing? And she's
Guess
like,
who I'm fucking?
No, I'm going to go hang out with Neil in Nashville. And she's texting him everything that's happening. And he's just not replying, probably because he's cheating on her because she's a fucking
smart
bitch.
Guess who's notably bigger than you?
I messaged my boyfriend and told him I thought I'd been sexually assaulted. And I wanted to go home.
Claire shared those messages with us. They chart her emotional journey that night. At 7:14 p.m, I'm having a lot of fun. I shouldn't have dreaded this so much. At 9:36 p.m, so out of my comfort zone, and there's nothing I can do about it. Less than half an hour later, I'm safe with my friends. 39 minutes later, I need to leave. Frustrated by her boyfriend being non-responsive, she writes sarcastically, wasn't sexually assaulted much, or extremely harassed, or touched too inappropriately.
Right. And then her boyfriend finally replied, how did Neil's dick taste?
Yeah, I know. It's just like, how am I supposed to respond to these messages? They're back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. Hope you're having a lot of fun with another guy. Oh, you're not? This frowny face.
Right.
Fuck off.
Sarcasm is just rude.
So at this point, they have like no evidence. So what is Claire going to do except literally dream up evidence? She's writing a letter to Neil about a dream that she had where he apologized to her.
Oh no.
So I just set up a Google alert for Neil Gaiman sexual assault and I let myself rest.
And then she turned to her letter to Neil Gaiman. In it, Claire describes a recent dream she says she had about him, a dream in which he apologized to her and recognised that, she wrote, the vast power imbalance that existed between us made my consent to any kind of physical or romantic relationship impossible.
Wow. This is what hooked me. Andy and I were on vacation last week. We were talking about this. And when you said, yeah, one of the pieces of evidence was a dream this chick had, I went, okay, yeah, we got to talk about this on WATP. These people are stupid.
Yeah. So nobody that is rich and powerful can ever nobody that fucks somebody that's rich and powerful can ever fully consent to that, is what she just said.
Correct. And a lot of people think that's real. A lot of people think you can change your mind at any time. I've heard people, like creators, say, oh, I would never have sex with a fan. Why not? Those are the people who are the most willing. Like,
that's all Neil does.
That's smart. What are you going to do? Introduce yourself? By the way, I'm a pretty big deal. Like, got to explain the whole fucking thing.
Why people want to get famous.
Right.
Especially uggos like Neil.
Correct.
He's not a handsome man. At any rate...
Lucy's into him.
I like the money
and
the power imbalance.
Now that Neil has brought a payout to Claire, he's on the hook for this money. He's questioning his own decisions. Like, how did I get here?
Right.
And in clip 41, he's going to ask her, like, I thought we were cool. Like, what happened?
I've been thinking about a lot in the last week.
Okay.
Why did you kiss me? The first time you said, I have a message for you from your wife.
Oh, I didn't...
And then we were alone, and then you smooched me kind of passionately, and that was... I would never have made the first move on anybody. I would be terrified of that.
Come on. Terrified? Figuring assholes in the tub. What are you talking about?
But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, he's a little gun shy now. I get it. Yeah. But yeah, that is a pretty good question. Oh, so if you're really so scared of me and stuff, I'm such a horrible monster, like, why were you making out with me?
Yeah.
What's that all about? Oh, yeah.
You smooched me.
And you could hear it in her voice. She's like, oh, yeah, that thing I did that made you think that I like you. Yeah, I didn't fucking mean that.
Oops.
And in our last clip here, she's just going to continue to throw mixed messages at Neil. He's going to be stuck wondering how the fuck to this day, probably, as all these further allegations and lawsuits and his wife throwing him under the bus, he's just wondering how he found himself here now.
Okay.
And I thought that what happened there? Because I thought that you liked me and wanted me, and that I
hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I'm gonna cut you off here because I don't think this is a super productive way of having this conversation in terms of.
I'm sorry.
And no. And I do want to say that I didn't kiss you.
You didn't?
Nope.
My attorney just said that I didn't kiss you and that we should stop talking right now because it's really fucking up my case.
Yeah. So all of these women, the moral of the story is they wanted things from Neil.
Right.
And mainly they got them.
Yep.
But now, years later, like 20 years later, they think that they didn't get enough.
Right.
The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And by juice, I mean Neil's buttered dick in your ass.
Yeah. It's not just that they wanted things from Neil. It's that they wanted his thing. Like, it doesn't sound like any of these women didn't want penis at one point or another.
Yeah, and it sounds like Neil is, when it comes to sex, you know, he's into some weird shit. So
he's successful.
Yes. So it makes it easier for the women. Like, this reminds me of the Trevor Bauer case. Trevor Bauer, the best pitcher in all of Major League Baseball for the Dodgers. And then this woman came out and accused him of having really rough sex with her and beating her really badly. And he was suspended from baseball and then run out of baseball, had to pitch in Japan and then Mexico. And then it came out that this woman was messaging with her friend. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to try to sleep with Trevor Bauer and get him in trouble and see if I can get a bunch of money from him. And like, she was planning this all along. Like, there's women who do this on purpose, try to honey trap these guys who have wealth and power and then fuck with them.
Yep.
So it sounds like a lot of these women are seeing that opportunity now and going, oh, I could be part of this lawsuit.
Right. Neil's lawyer is just, you don't say you're sorry. You don't fucking pay him off. These are admissions of guilt. But guess what? Being kinky is not illegal. Being in an open marriage is not illegal. Being 60 and fucking an 18-year-old is not illegal.
What about pissing on your head and slapping someone?
Not illegal.
Not illegal? All right. Is that what you told HR, Lucy Typefox? It's not illegal, I just found out.
So anyway, I guess we're gonna find out. You know, it's gonna come out eventually. Well, Neil's fate, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, very very good presentation, Andy. This is something that is happening in real time. And more allegations are coming out, and these people are becoming stars. These two hosts of the show, Paul and Rachel.
Oh my God, they're the worst.
They're so bad. They have all these voicemails and interviews and all this shit. They can't do anything interesting with it.
The scary music bed.
Yeah. Sucks so bad.
Who are these